Hey, manufacturing world, welcome to another episode of Shop Matters, sponsored by Okuma America. This podcast is created to talk about all things manufacturing related. Today, joining me in the studio, I've got an old friend of mine, Mr. Nick Spurrett.
Good afternoon, good morning, and welcome. Thanks very much, Wade, and welcome to the podcast, listeners.
Nick, I appreciate you joining us. So let's start. Tell us a little bit about Nick Spurrett.
Okay, well, Wade, thanks very much. A little about Nick Spurrett. Well, clearly this podcast is being recorded in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina, but you can probably tell from the accent that that's not originally my home.
You've got the deep South accent.
That's for sure. So originally a Brit, moved to the US about 6 years ago, and today I work for a company called CAMBRIO. It's a brand new organisation, brand new company, started at the beginning of the year. CAMBRIO was the purchasers of both Gibbs and Cimatron at the beginning of the year from 3D Systems. And those two companies, those two products, joined together with SigmaNest. So those are the three solutions that today sit under the CAMBRIO umbrella.
Okay. So I'm familiar with Gibbs Cam. I think probably most of the people that be listening are familiar with Gibbs Cam. Tell me a little more about the other two.
So SigmaNest is a sheet metal solution.
Okay.
So it's very, very strong globally, very, very strong in North America. I've got their own direct team based out of Cincinnati is their main office. So predominantly sheet metal space.
Okay.
That's the product. And as for Cimatron, it's a mold and die design platform.
Okay.
Originally Israeli, originally wrote in Israel, very, very strong globally. It's a fantastic reputation, many thousands of customers on support, very, very well registered, well looked after. The product's very, very well known throughout the world.
Okay. So you would use Cimatron to actually design the solid models and things for the mold and die industry?
Yeah.
And then translate that over to the Gibbs Cam for the G&M code? Or
No.
Okay.
Cimatron's a full mold and die CAD/CAM solution.
Okay.
So it's fully integrated.
Okay.
So it's in that specific mold and die progression environment space where you can do the full design inside Cimatron and the full manufacturing, or you can just do the manufacturing side.
Okay.
So the way that I'd split the products, Wade, is we have a sheet metal solution, which is SigmaNest. Mm-hmm. We have Gibbs Cam, which is production machining.
Okay.
So your general production machining, small molds, but your one-offs or your batch runs, mill turn, Swiss, standard G-code machine tools production. And then you have the higher end mold and die platform, which is your bigger molds, your bigger designs, your progresses. That environment is your Cimatron space. So the three are very, very complementary to each other. So there's very, very little overlap. If you look at manufacturing technologies today, most companies are either in the sheet metal space, they're either in the production space, or they're in the mold and die space. There are crossovers, of course there are, but predominantly those three spaces do typically live apart. Yes, will you have a mold and die company that has a mill turn? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Will you have a mill turn company predominantly that wants to make a one-off mold? Yes. Mm-hmm. And we have the technologies to do that today, but predominantly you're either into big mold and die, or you're into sheet metal, or you're into production machining.
Okay, very interesting. I always find it, I feel like every CAD/CAM company, they've got strong suits. They've got their sweet spots where they really play good in, but when you talk to them, no, we do it all. You know, we cover A to Z, but in reality, you kind of know once you're working with them, well, company A is really strong in this segment of the market, company B is really strong in a different segment, so...
Well, I don't know whether this translates, but I was saying my dad always used to tell me many, many years ago, You can be a jack of all trades, but you'll never be master of them.
Right. Yep.
And so what we're trying to do is within Cambrio, we're trying to build platforms, we're trying to build technologies that's specifically targeted for a manufacturing audience. And you know, Okuma knows very, very well, your general ma and pa shop isn't into big industrial molds. They typically aren't, because of the cost of investment for the machine tools, the materials, the technology that sits behind manufacturing that specific component. Typically isn't your small to medium enterprise. Will they take on molds? Yeah. I mean, if you look at a mold that's 18 inches or smaller, yeah, absolutely. Gibbs Cam is absolutely perfect in that space. But would I want to make a 10-ton mold in Gibbs Cam? No, I wouldn't. I'd literally walk them through to Cimatron and say, buy this solution,
right,
because it's without a doubt a better technology. And so what we're trying to do is we've got a VP, Vice President of Sigma Nest, we've got a Vice President of Cimatron, and I'm the Vice President of Gibbs Cam. My background is production machining. That's my background. I was with another production machining product for 21 years. So I know this technology. I know what its strengths are.
Right.
And one of the real amazing strengths is the number of Gibbs Cam customers on support globally. We have a huge number of, we have something in the region of 8,000 supported customers globally.
Wow.
And it's and we have a dedicated support team. We have
No, I was just going to say, let's talk a little bit about the support infrastructure. What does the service and support look like for the Gibbs Cam product? And if we've got customers out there that either are using it lightly or don't use it and want to learn more about it, how do they go about that?
So we try to do podcasts. We try to do webinars. There was a webinar yesterday about that was available on one of the platforms that, through Team Center that we advertised to learn about the latest technology or just advanced surface machining technology, which was yesterday's. That's readily available. People can download that. People can get the link from the website, which is obviously www.gibbscam.com. So there's that technology. We have our own support team. However, Gibbs Cam predominantly 75% is sold to a reseller channel. And we love resellers. They're absolutely fantastic to us. And they have their own support team. But they know that we are right front and center backing them with any issues that they potentially have. And what I mean by potentially have, if they can't answer the customer can come to us. I mean, it's not like, well, you're an indirect customer, you've got to stay away.
Right.
It's like, we're all part of a family. We're part of a team. Come to us. And if you're struggling with understanding the answer to this question, because let's be completely honest, there's no software in this world that's bug-free or enhancement request-free. Let's just be completely honest. And if it's an enhancement request, it gets logged through to development. And we've got a significant development team that analyze this. The QA team will analyze it. And if it holds water, as they say, because there's really three environments of enhancement requests within all software technologies, and they are end user specific. This one customer wants the product to do this.
Right.
And the chances are that actually making the table of being done is slim. There is another opportunity, which is localization requirements. Not just language specific, but maybe they have a machining technology that they used to here in the US or in Germany or in Japan. And if you look at elsewhere within the world, the reality is that technology is not really used. But then we also have global. Then there's something that's just so obvious. Why didn't we think of it? And that's probably got much better chance of hitting the enhancement list.
Sure.
Because everybody's under pressure with development, the developers, and they in Gibbs Cam, they do a fantastic job. They're run by an amazing team. And I've only been with the business since the beginning of the year, but I've been so impressed with the development team, that environment that's been created in Moore Park in California, because that's predominantly where they're all based. is absolutely phenomenal, and what they managed to develop is it's pretty outstanding. But it's a product that's been around many years, and
Right.
and of course, when you've got that legacy and that knowledge within the development space, it's that these guys just get going, and they're like, right, okay, what's next? And it's like we're trying to roadmap it at the minute. We've just released 14 internationally. We're working on the plan for 15. Some of the developers are already way down the road of 15, because obviously you have to start development. The cycle starts nice and early.
Sure.
But yeah, it's really interesting.
Very cool. So what does the future look like? Where do you see the Gibbs Cam product going, or the CAMBRIO product as a whole? Where do you see that moving as we look out 3-5 years down the road?
Well, I think ultimately CAMBRIO's owned by a private equity company, which is Battery Ventures. I worked for Battery Ventures 10 years ago.
Oh, no kidding.
And
Come back around.
And two of the board members that sit on the board of CAMBRIO are CAD/CAM experts. Well, one is significantly known in the CAD/CAM industry, and one run the Battery Ventures organisation that I worked for 10 years ago. And I worked for him for 4 or 5 years, and then I worked for the other guy for the last 6.
Yeah.
And so with Battery Ventures, they are manufacturing experts. In the division that we're within, Battery's obviously a pretty sizable company, but in the division that we're in, they're CAD/CAM experts. They really do know what they're doing, and that was one of the reasons that after 21 years I decided that I needed a new challenge. But what's the future? Well, for me, the future is about complementary solutions. I don't want to buy another CAM product. I don't want to buy another production software company. But there's technologies out there that are very complementary within the sheet metal, within the production machining, within the mold and die space. They're very complementary to one or all three of those solutions. So do I see us expanding our portfolio? I'm sure the Battery team are already working on this, and I'm sure if the right product comes along at the right price, that'll be added to the portfolio.
Sure.
But looking at what we've got today, things that we have to do quickly is like licensing. We have to have a common license between all three platforms, because then we can have a licensing team, and it doesn't matter what product you are, what product that you have. If you're a Sigma S customer or a Gibbs Cam customer or a Cimatron customer, you go through to the licensing team. It goes to the licensing team. They fix a licensing issue. It's fixed, and you don't care where you get the support from. You
just want your stuff to work.
You
right?
just want your stuff to work.
Yeah.
And so, will there be a cross share of technologies? I'm sure if the right piece of technology sits within one of the technologies, then I'm sure it'll get cross-pollinated with the other technologies. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to make Cimatron a mill-turn Swiss lathe solution, because we've already got that with Gibbs Cam. Why make that product a competitor to a product that you already own? That doesn't seem to make a great deal of sense to me. Yeah. And likewise, we're not going to massively enhance the toolpath engine inside of Gibbs Cam to make it a real competitive mold and die solution. Because
right,
yes, because we've already got that. Yeah. But do we need to improve the toolpaths? Obviously. Of course we will. And we will continue to do that. I can rest assure everybody that it's a Gibbs Cam customer today and a Cimatron customer today, your products are loved and cared for and will be driven in the environment that you want them to be driven. Are we going to be complete silos? No, it doesn't make sense to be complete silos. We've got resellers that sell both products. We've got technical people that are with both products. There's no point in being siloed. Like the products are complementary to each other. And if we got a really smart AE that knows both, why are we gonna dishearten him by making him pick which product that he's going to be siloed in? That doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
Yep. How about the digitization? You know, there's all these buzzwords in the industry now, right? So digitization of manufacturing. I think that's something that's been worked on for years, but you add a couple of buzzwords to it and it takes on a whole new meaning in the marketplace. So Talk about things, digital twin, for an example. What are you guys doing in the digital twin space? And what is it? For the typical job shop, what does that mean to them?
Well, let's take a step back.
Okay.
And let's talk about all these acronyms that everybody's now come up with. And it's almost like we've employed a load of professors to come up with some acronyms just to confuse mere mortals like me. And it's like even Industry 4.0. Mm-hmm. What does it really mean? When you really look at it, what does it really mean? Because the professors can't agree exactly what it means. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've spoken in the past, Wade, about Industry 4.0 and manufacturing. Well, anybody that owns a CAM system today is already on the path of Industry 4.0, because Industry 4.0 is technology within IoT, within the cloud, within PC. So everybody's that's a CAM customer today is already started the journey of Industry 4.0. But you talk about digital twins, mm-hmm. and everybody's now jumping on bandwagons of buzzwords of digital twins, of OEEs, and we'll probably come on to OEE in a bit. But there's hundreds of them now. And let me just explain what I think a digital twin really means. All it is a visual representation on a computer of something that is happening somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And that can be your whole shop floor, and that can be every single CNC machine tool. It can be your forklifts. It can be it could be anything that you want to visually represent. And there's technologies out there that allow you to do that today. If I look at digital twins in our space, we're taking an Okuma machine. We are building an exact replica of that machine, fixtures, tooling, guarding, conveyors, chip removals, coolant floods, everything inside a built machine inside a computer. Mm-hmm. So when you run the simulation, and it's simulation, and everybody that's the vast majority of CAM companies simulate the CL data or the app data. Mm-hmm. They're not verifying the NC code. So we want to be able to see the machine that's on the shop floor. So when we hit the simulation button, we're seeing what that machine is going to do.
With the NC code?
No.
On the... Okay.
So this is still CL and app code.
Okay.
There are a couple of platforms out there that are true verification platforms. Mm-hmm. But they're also true verification platform money. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we build, because we obviously work with yourself. I know one of our application engineers was in the Think Center last week, running some test parts. That post is as good as proven, because we've cut the part for the customer on the very machine that the customer is taking ownership of. Mm-hmm. It's a approved post because it's run.
Right.
And so once we know the post is good, we can then assure ourselves that the digital twin is good. So now, because we've got a cross-reference between actual toolpath and simulated toolpath, and we know they're the same, so now we're looking at the digital twin. So now if we're going to crash the machine, we're going to crash the machine on a computer screen. The cost of that is a few minutes. Mm-hmm. Doing it in real time and real life, the cost is very, very different.
Right.
But the whole digital twin fact is you can make digital twins of anything. Like I said earlier, you can literally build your whole plant with every single machine. You can see material coming in. It's all on a computer. But in our space today, a digital twin definitely means the simulation of the machine tool that is on the shop floor in your site, and that could be one or multiple.
So the value for a customer, let's say, let's target the job shop type market. Let's say customers that's got 50 or less employees, maybe 5 to 20 CNC machines. The value realization for that customer, where is the return on that investment for them? Is it strictly just collision avoidance?
No, it's confidence. Mm-hmm. And as we all know, running I'm old enough to. I did a mechanical engineering apprenticeship, and I honestly, when I first programmed a CNC machine tool, and I pressed the go button and had the feed turned right down. There was nerves,
Right.
and if you go back to, because that was the early 80s, if you go back and say, right, well, here's an image of your machine, here's an image of what it's going to do, the nerves would go. I've now got confidence of knowing that this part is good. Mm-hmm. I've got my speeds and feeds right because I've got it from the CAM platform that's got it from the tooling company, because all the tooling databases are built inside Gibbs CAM. So I know that the feeds and speeds are right. I've got confidence of now pressing the button and not so much walking away on the first off, but have confidence that everything's going to be good.
Mm-hmm. I had a guy tell me just kind of an analogy of confidence, and he said, "Have you ever driven across the Golden Gate Bridge, or any of these big, large, tall bridges? You got that small little guardrail running beside you, and you will never hit it. You never need it, but you take that guardrail off, and I guarantee you, hardly anybody would drive across that bridge.
Yeah,
they need that guardrail, that safety fence of knowing that anything goes wrong, I've got a little buffer space." So I kind of think of that from the digital twin standpoint. It increases that confidence level, gives you a little bit of guardrail to know, hey, I've run this thing in the virtual environment. I've seen what all the fixturing and the parameters of the machine tool looks like. Now we can run it with a high level of confidence on the real machine.
Because if you go back even 6 or 7 years ago, the CNC, you wouldn't really see the CNC machine tool per se. There was a sort of visualization of one, but it wasn't yours. It was one that came out of the box.
Sure.
And now, because the fixture isn't correct and the guard isn't correct and the spindle isn't, what value does it add? Well, it looks pretty on the screen.
How close do you get from a cycle time standpoint? Can that be utilized for time studies and trying to figure out what your cost per part could be?
So that's a fantastic question, because what we have in our SigmaNest solution today is that very product. It's relatively new in launch, but we can now read in all the sheet metal material. We can understand the process planning. We can understand how long the part's going to take to make, how many of them per sheet. And that technology will really move over into the chip cutting space in the future, because we can show you cycle times today, but they're approximate.
Okay.
And it does depend on a number of factors. How quickly does it accelerate? Because on a computer screen, it's instant.
Right.
It's from feed to rapid in a microsecond. Because the reality is the computer doesn't know that it takes time to speed up to maximum rapid and then de-accelerate. So there's always an overlap. And the more you're out of cut, the more the cycle time will vary between actual and what the computer says. Okay. And because we're looking at optimum rates, as soon as it's off cut, it's then in rapid mode.
Right.
And that's a microsecond.
Yeah. That's a big talking point for us on machine tools. Everybody does their fancy spreadsheets and they love checking out everybody's XYZs and travels and rapid rates and comparing, this guy's got, 3,000 inch per minute rapids and this guy's 2,800 inch per minute rapid. What they don't get out of those spreadsheets like that is the amount of time, because nobody, I don't care what machine you line up, you've got a certain distance that it takes to ramp that much mass up to full rapid and then bring it right back down. So feature to feature, typically if you're moving within 4 or 5 inches, that machine tool never hits full rapid. It doesn't have enough distance and time to get there. So,
but it's a bit like cars. And I mean, people buy cars now that are 0 to 60 in X seconds. They'll all do over 100 mile an hour.
Right.
Now, and that breaks every speed limit in the US. But now they're looking at this 0 to 60. How quickly does it get to 0 to 60? And that's very true on the CNC machine tools. If you're moving 4, 5 inches, you're never at full rapid.
Right.
And that's a challenge that we have with cycle times, because we type in what the rapid rate is, and it goes from one thou of an inch off the part to 5 inches away at full rapid.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get there that quickly.
Sure. Yep. Understood. Very good. Well, Nick, if customers want to reach out to you, talk to you, what's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
GibbsCam.com is obviously our global platform. They can always contact me at nick.spurrett@cambrio.com. But the website's the best place because anybody globally can log into, and it's translated into multiple languages, and there's contact us, and you can download a free trial version using the website. And we will send you code for a trial version. It isn't oh, well, now you have to fill in this, and now you have to go through this question and answer session, and now you're not going to get
your
sales
social security number.
Exactly. It is literally you can go to the website and request a trial.
Okay. Is there online training tools for somebody that's wanting to just kind of get started?
So we have online videos
okay.
That are all available, because obviously somebody that's brand new, that doesn't know the latest version of Gibbs Cam and wants a trial version. And we have existing customers that want to just have a nose before they upgrade to the next version. And there's training videos for those. We do a lot of training, obviously, because of the global situation that we're all in today. Most of our training is done virtually. So we have a team of AEs. Globally, we have a team of AEs that can provide training to any of our customers using any of the platforms. And again, it comes down to specifics. Not only do we have product specifics for different technologies, we have different experts.
Sure.
Because the reality is if you're a 5-axis expert, you typically don't live in the Swiss turning space.
Right.
So we have the Swiss space.
An aerospace guy is typically different than a mold and die guy.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you for joining us today. Feel free to reach out to us with any ideas or questions that you've got. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Wade, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks everybody else.